Well, I mentioned some of you probably have a road trip ahead of you. Who's got a road trip coming up this summer? Anybody driving? Oh, yeah, some of you are driving a lot. All right. So one of the common things, other than the Dwell app you're going to obviously have going, is to have a playlist, right? You have a playlist for the road. You have favorite songs you want to listen to. Some of you have a certain one that you listen to over and over. Some of you just have a channel or a kind of music. Spotify, Apple Music. Any yacht rock fans? Yacht rock? Sailing, take me away. No? Christopher Cross? Nobody? Okay. It's on you. It's your problem. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. There's a whole documentary on Christopher Cross. Never mind. Anyway, in the summers in the 90s, I burned some CDs. Anybody burn some CDs ever? Students don't know what that means. The graduates are all looking just glazed over right now, but yeah, CDs, that was a big deal. I had a CD player in my car. My car was old enough that it had a tape deck in it, but I plugged in a converter that then had a wire that went down to the floorboards, and my CD player was there, and I had saved up money for this one. It was a nice one. It had anti-skip technology that worked about half the time. So about half the time, it would not skip on a song. Thank you. No, stop, really. Yeah, that's kind of what, it's so weird where technology is right now and thinking about like not having to deal with that kind of stuff. But the thing I love about a summer playlist is it's not just one song, right? It's not just one kind of song. There's a lot of different songs that come out in the summer or kind of have a summer theme to them. And sometimes a song is very powerful. Like you can hear a song and it just kind of transports you back to a certain memory that you grew up with, or that was a young adult, or even something as an adult. And so you kind of have those themes for those seasons, and it can be really powerful. And some of the best opportunities for us to grow and for us to have powerful memories start in kind of how we plan. And so maybe you have a busy, you have lots of things already on your calendar for summer. Maybe you're looking forward to having nothing on your calendar for summer, and that is okay too. I want to talk to you about some ideas today that I believe summer is not just like a nothing pause, right? I think it shouldn't be about chaos, but I think there's some real opportunities for summer. Not to be chaotic and busy like the rest of the year, but to be more intentional about how we connect with one another. And if you know anything, during the school year and at the height of kids' activities and the height of just everything in your life going on and holidays and all this stuff, calendars get really full. And so when life slows down a little bit, the tendency can be just to kind of doom scroll in bed rot. And there's a place for some of that, but what if it was really an opportunity that we're taking for granted to where we could connect with each other? And we're going to look at a scripture today that's very close to this idea that the early church was really honing in on. They were really, really paying attention to not just knowing about Jesus, but living like Jesus taught us to live. And that's crucial. That's a big difference. Because there's a lot of talk out there today about Jesus, and a lot of people that are proposing to say what he really was teaching and what he was doing. But there's a lot of a difference in living like Jesus lived than knowing facts about Jesus. And so that's what I want to kind of explore today a little bit. Sometimes we treat our faith kind of like, in my day, there was a thing called greatest hits CDs, and they were selling them all the time. And it was like, your top 100 or your top 10 or whatever of this year, or even an artist would come out with. I had some greatest hits CDs. And so you would put it there maybe in your glove box or something, and you might forget about it, and then all of a sudden you rediscovered it. And that was always exciting for me. But the deeper problem might be for us that we don't think about all the opportunities that God gives us to grow in our faith outside of just Sunday morning. And so I want to really explore some of that with you today. Because, sometimes Sundays get disrupted, right? We've had iced Sundays where we couldn't get here because it was too icy outside. We've had tornado warning Sundays where we're watching really close and should we or should we not? We've had Sundays where, we've lost power, or during COVID where we weren't able to meet. And so if we just put everything into Sunday, we rob ourselves of these whole other 6 days of the week that we can also grow spiritually. And maybe you're traveling one of these Sundays and you won't be here in person. And I don't want you to totally miss out for like a month because you miss a couple Sundays and it's difficult. I want you to know that there's opportunities. So whether you're traveling or you have house guests and you can't make it, you have something to go to with a friend, whatever's going on, there are opportunities to be growing. The scriptures tell us it like this. They say, let us not neglect our church meetings as some people do in Hebrews. And so there's this clear kind of idea that we shouldn't be neglecting that. And at some point we feel bad when we do miss, right? We feel a little, at least at first usually, we feel a little twinge of maybe guilt or missing out, FOMO. I don't know what it is. We feel something. But I don't want you to feel that as much as I want you to look for the opportunities that exist. Just like an artist looks at a canvas that is blank and sees this whole blank opportunity as a way to make something beautiful. Or a sculptor looks at a block of clay and says, I can make something out of that that's in my mind that's not yet there in that block. I want you to look at the openings in your week, the open days, the days where there isn't something, and look at that as an opportunity. Schools talk a lot about this concept of the summer slide. You've heard this before? The summer slide, where sometimes students in the school year at a certain reading level, and then just 3 months later, the teachers are like, what did you do this summer? What did you lose? How did you slide so far back? And so there's different ideas on why that happens and how much that really happens. But most indicate that there is some sort of loss over those months of the summer, as our children are out there preparing for the harvest. What? That's what summer's, right? That's why it's there. The kids are working out, right? Never mind. Anyway. So yeah, it's party time, vacation time, and kids are, rotting their brain, and then they have that summer slide. And so what, for us, does that look like if we give up on summer completely as Christians? Well, it can look like our faith slides a little bit, and we lose some of the ground we had. And it's never that we've lost out stickers with God or anything, or there's not a quiz at the end of this. It's just that we'll start to we will perceive God as further away than he really is. And we'll start to feel that absence, and that we'll feel like we're in a desert. And I don't want that for you, and you don't want that for anyone else. And so how can we build up and encourage each other? Even as our calendars become looser and the days get longer and there's more sunlight and there's more things to do that are kind of recreational in nature. And I want to look at how the first church did it, because what we have in the book of Acts is a really interesting snapshot of pretty much how the first 3 decades went of the Christian church, right? Jesus goes back to be with the Father. The Spirit descends in this powerful way, and the church is born. And Acts is this book right following the Gospels that gives us this idea of what that church looked like. And so if you ever want to know, I've heard people talk about getting back to the basics, right? And they're like, we need to sing some song that I heard as a kid. And I'm like, well, that's the basics for your generation, but you want to get back to the basics, we go back to Acts chapter 2, because that's where the church was born. And that's the people closest to Jesus. And so the things that they started to do together came from the way that they were raised. And most of them were raised in a Jewish context. In specific, they watched and observed the Pharisees. And so a lot of the practices that you're going to hear about today are things they were kind of converting and bringing over. The Pharisees had 2 primary locations that they would worship. They would worship in the temple, and they would worship in the home. And so that's kind of what we see the early Christian church doing. They modeled it after that, obviously not focused on Jewish ritual and Jewish laws, focused on the gospel, focused on Jesus, what he had done and what he had taught. And so that's what we're going to catch up today. As we get to the end of this chapter, it starts talking about the believers in that community and what they were doing. And so Acts chapter 2, beginning in verse 42, says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. So you have in just this first verse here kind of a rich snapshot of what they thought were the most important things to do. And if you read that closely and you see what's not there, you'll go, oh, wow, there's a lot of things that I think are important today that aren't really in that, are they? And anytime that the church gets distracted, it's good to come back to the basics and say, what do we really have to be? And this is the process that this church went through in 2013 to 2015. We went through a process where we wanted to evaluate and and what I call trim the fat, get the extra stuff out of the way. The specific process we called is called the simple church model, where we wanted to get back to what was required and what was excess that was distracting us from those things that were required. And so this is one of the key scriptures we came to. We wanted to understand, what were they really doing? And verse 43 kind of explains some of those benefits in it. It says, a deep sense of awe came over them, and all the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day, met in homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity. All the while, verse 47 says, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. So throughout this whole period, as they were engaging in meeting together and having meals together and praying for one another and listening to teaching, and they were meeting together in big groups, and they were meeting together in homes and small groups, throughout all of that, people were being saved. People were coming to know Jesus as their Savior. They were starting to trust Christ. And isn't it interesting that it doesn't say a lot of the things that we think are important today is how they did that, how they accomplished that, but they accomplished it in rather, to us, non-intuitive ways, kind of upside-down ways, getting together, having meals together, praying for one another, meeting needs, encouraging one another. It's interesting that that's kind of the heartbeat of this church. This is not one idea, but there are actually four encoded in what we've just learned: teaching, fellowship, meals, and prayer. And these four kind of ideas circle this scripture. And I think I used to look at that as a checklist. I know I did in 2013 when we were starting this journey. I was like, okay, so we got to do this here, and then we'll have this for that, and this for that, and like we had to check off each box all the time. And now I've come to understand it a little bit more differently. I don't think it's like a weekly checklist. You got to get all this done or you failed that week or something on your report card. I think of it more like a playlist. Like when you push shuffle on a playlist, like no song is more important than the others. It's going to randomly throw one in there. And as you do that, it kind of brings those back to the top of the rotation every once in a while. And you realize they all have a different purpose and a different place. As we drive, I like to listen to pre-built playlists. I don't spend a ton of time building my own, but I like to pick one every once in a while, like a 90s or an 80s on 8 or something like that. And I like to just pick that and listen to that for as long as I can stand it, or as long as Wendy can stand it is probably more appropriate. But the invitation this summer, I don't want you to mishear what I'm trying to say today. I don't want you to hear me saying, like, you got to try harder this summer, because I think that's one of the most tragic things we walk away with on a Sunday is we walk away with, I got to try harder. Like, that's not what we're trying to talk about today. What we're trying to talk about today is Jesus has already built the playlist. Like, he's done the heavy lifting. And he's just inviting you to listen, to be a part of it, to enjoy what he's done for you. And so let's talk about some pre-built playlists. We've got some opportunities this summer to move around those four ideas of prayer and fellowship and meals. And some of them have come directly from folks that attend our church. Some of them have come from ideas that we've done in the past. Some of them are new things. And so I wanted to just spend about 5 minutes with you, just kind of walking through that so you have an overview, and not so that you feel like I've got to check every single box of everything the church is doing this summer, but so you go, maybe one floats to the top, right? On this rotation I'm getting ready to present. Maybe one is like, oh yeah, that's my jam. I want to do that. And there may be one on there you're like, absolutely not. Pastor Clark is insane. That's the worst song I've ever heard. I'm not doing that, right? And there may be a few in the middle you're like, if I have time. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to present a playlist, if you will, of opportunities and things to do, and I want to explain them a little bit. So the first one is something that we've done before, but it's been years since we've done this, and that is a summer dinner club. And so basically, someone brought this up the other day, and I was like, I don't know, it's like one of those things that hits you, and you're like, why did we stop doing that? I don't know. Like, it's like, oh, that's a really good idea. And so I wanted to act like it was all my idea, and I was like, I was coming up with this great idea, but it's not. The Huffs, are you in here? Where are you at? somewhere. There you are, yes. So they were like, hey, we used to do this thing at our church in California. And I'm like, yeah, we've done that here before. But I was like, why aren't we doing it? So we're going to do it. We're going to try that. So that's an opportunity for you this summer. There's no expectations. There's no study with this. It's a super simple idea. It's very laid back. Some of you might have got an email about this. I emailed a few of you this week about this, saying we were going to have a meeting after church about it. We're not having that meeting after church today because when I scheduled that email, I didn't know about, we're having one of our graduates is having a party here this afternoon, and they need us out to clear out to get ready for that party. So this is your meeting. Here you go, all right? So I'm just telling you about it. I'll email you and follow up with you this week. But if you want to host one of these, super simple. You'll just open your home up. It's kind of potluck is the idea. 3 dinners over the summer, June, July, and August, with just about 6 to 8 people. And it'll kind of be randomized where we'll send people out. And it's just a good way to get to know people that maybe you've never served alongside before or never been in a group with before. And it can be at your home. And some of you just like, I just saw the fear. Like you're gripping your seats. You're like, ah! And so, look, go to a restaurant. Go to Mitch Park. Go to a coffee shop if you'd rather do that. We've had people go to coffee or tea shops. We've had people go to Brahms. We have a new Brahms down the road. I mean, there's just tons of ideas, right? It's not like one thing is the right way to do it. I think home is nice if you can pull it off, especially it's just 3 times. And, spouses, that makes your other spouse help you clean the house for that 1 week. So, there you go. Home, restaurant, backyard. Oh, you can go to your backyard. I saw somebody do this in their front yard once, like in the driveway. They just circled chairs around. I don't know how hot it's going to be by the time we get to July. That may not be a possibility. But lots of opportunities there. And so if you want to be a host, you can sign up. If you just want to go to someone's house and be a part of this, you sign up through our app. You're going to get an email at noon today. If you're on our email list, you're going to get a text message this afternoon. So it's out there, the information. We'll put it on our social medias as well. But you can find it in the app right now. It's like one of the first links on there. The game night was an idea that we... A couple of people had suggested different times. One person suggested a puzzle night. One person suggested like a video game thing. One person suggested a board game night. So we've just kind of combined it all into one night. We're going to do that on June the 14th. It's a big movement, if you haven't heard about this, with young adults right now, where they kind of leave their phones on stun somewhere, and they're having game nights. And like coffee shops are having these things. Libraries are hosting these events because people are kind of fed up with the doom scrolling. I mean, there's never an end. They thought there might be an end, I think, at some point, and it just never ends. And so you just kind of put your phones down, and we're going back to old things. So if you have a board game, I don't know that you got time to finish Monopoly. I don't know about that. But we'll have a couple of hours. We'll have snacks and stuff here, and just kind of providing a room where we have these great tables. We have big tables that can seat 10, the rounds. We have the smaller rounds that seat 4. And so we'll have just kind of a night here where we have a game night. So if you'd like to come and bring a puzzle or game, we'll have some here as well. But that's for you. And then, the other things coming up in the summer, the movie nights, we've done those before. We usually sell those out because and now we rent the biggest one. We used to rent the smallest one, Icon. We rent their biggest theater, I think, 80 some seats in there. So we're over halfway sold out on the first one. We'll open the next one up on Father's Day weekend. So that will be in June for the July showing. But if you want free tickets to that is available for you. We just all show up at the movies. Your tickets are free. Your concessions are on you. Back to school bash, we're going to do that at Mitch Park. We've rented that huge pavilion at Mitch Park, so we got the big one right across from the playground. We'll have cookout. We'll, again, invite you to bring stuff. We'll have like the main dish, and then you just bring stuff to go with that, or dessert or something like that. And then Slides and Sliders is new for us this year. It is the Sunday after July 4th. We have the company coming out with the big American flag water slide for the kiddos that'll be outside, and then we will have barbecue sliders as well after church that day. So that's just kind of a fun day to hang out on that weekend if you are in town for that. And so, again, all of this, none of this is like, you got to do all this. But we just wanted you to know what's available. So we like to have things available. If you are feeling disconnected or, you're feeling like I'm busy on this Sunday, I can't make it, here's some other opportunities. I am doing a cool series in June, starting in June, and it'll be most of July, on Jonah. So if you've not studied much about Jonah in the past, I want to encourage you to come and be a part of that. He's commonly called the runaway prophet, and we're going to talk about how God pursues him. God's relentless love pursues us as well. So I'm excited to share that story with you if you haven't heard much about Jonah before, and that will be in June and most of July. But to me, the big idea here is that the best summers aren't about necessarily where you go, and I think we all kind of understand that. You know, you've gone probably to some cool places, you've gone to pretty lame places probably, and it's really about who you go with most of the time. And that's, I think, what that early church was really learning, is that they were spending time with each other, getting to know each other, encouraging each other, praying for each other. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do this summer, is to pick something. Put something on your playlist, right? Whether it's, one of these big events, or it's a small one, or it's a series, or it's, hey, I'm going to bring a friend to this event, or I'm going to make sure that I'm at that. Whatever that looks like for you, I want to encourage you to put that on your calendar, to open up your phone right now as I'm talking, and to calendar something, because if you're like me, what gets calendared gets done. So I'm going to encourage you to do that, because I want you to imagine Edmond in late August, okay? We're all a little bit sunburned probably by that point. We're all real tired of the heat by that point, and we're ready for, cooler weather in the state fair. That's where we're at. And for some reason, we know that Starbucks will have pumpkin spice lattes on August 1 now. I don't know what that is about. It's not time, but they do it to us earlier and earlier. So you know that's coming, right? It's going to be 110 degrees, and we're going to be drinking pumpkin spice lattes. But imagine, okay, that Coffee Creekers didn't just slide all summer and didn't just waste time, killing time, but used little pockets here and there to spend time together. Backyards were full. Dinner tables, we had friends around them with extra chairs pulled out, or that card table that you had to pull out of the attic. And in that time, we spent some of our time together in the summer. And through that, we knew some new names. We knew some new prayer requests. We knew some new people that are struggling that we can be praying for on a regular basis. And when we see them on Sunday, we can check up on them and say, hey, how are you doing? New names that you can put to faces. A family that visits in June for the first time and gets invited out to a cookout that next weekend. And they didn't have to wonder if they belonged. This is not a church program. This is just church. This is the dream that the early church had. And they lived out these values. And so I encourage you to join us in this, and let's live this out together. That is the big dream.